following program is from NET.
This is the beginning of a new year, and we at Black Journal hope to spend it in more and new investigations into all areas black. During the coming year, we will feature a film about a brother now in prison and his, quote, search for Frederick Douglass. We will look at black cops, emerging black lawyers, and the man, Martin Luther King. We'll go to Gary, Indiana to investigate what we call Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic Incorporated. We will also present 2 more black papers on white racism. Other features include Is God Black? Who Killed Malcolm? And a Trinidad folk tale. Of very special significance is our live 90-minute black special, Is It Too Late? Scheduled for February 8th. At that time, Black Journal will conduct an experiment using television as an instrument for positive social reform. We will also provide a platform from which black spokesmen can respond to you, their constituency. For 90 minutes, 12 leading black spokesmen will make statements and answer your telephoned questions on the issues, dynamics, and institutions in America which affect our lives as black people. You will be able to phone in your questions through regional telephone centers. That's February 8th. Tonight, we will take a look at one alternative educational structure in the country of Guyana. When the nation of Guyana on the northeastern coast of South America gained independence from British rule in 1966, the people and their government knew that only the first step had been taken. The next step was to produce in the shortest possible time Guyanese with adequate skills to meet the multitudes of needs in a newly independent country. This step is one that's hard to complete because it means training people in economics, science, agriculture, politics, technology, and other vital fields. The people must also acquire a sense of pride and confidence that may have been destroyed by slavery and colonialism. To complete this step, there must be a serious and innovative approach to the whole concept of education. With compulsory education for children 7 to 14 years of age, Guyana boasts an 85% literacy rate. However, a high birth rate in recent years has led to an acute shortage of schools and qualified training personnel. Also, at the college level, the University of Guyana has been struggling with inadequate funds to develop and expand its curriculum. So less Guyanese would have to go abroad for specialized professional and technical training. In examining Guyana's efforts in her struggle to educate the people, we find them confronting problems that are common to most third world developing nations. Education only begins with the children. There are also programs in Guyana geared toward benefiting the economy of the country as well as the adult population.
Ladies, this afternoon we're preparing a Genoese flan. The eggs are whisked together until light and fluffy. Eggs and sugar. Then the flour is added. The flour and baking powder are sieved together.
Here in Port Royne, on the west bank of Demerara, we have a food nutrition program which is designed to raise the health standards of the people in the rural communities. This is part of the National Applied Nutrition Program, which is part of our Feed the Nation campaign. Here, the ladies who attend the course learn the correct methods of preparation of foods so that the family can benefit from the maximum amount of nutritional value. I am a community development officer for the West Bank of Demerara. My job involves working with the people in the communities, and the people are being encouraged to grow more local products. In this way, helping the economy of the country as well. We'll be cutting down on imports.
In Guyana, there are a number of ethnic groups, including Africans, East Indians, Amerindians, Chinese, Europeans, and others. One goal of the government has been to erase tensions that in the past have led to racial violence between the two larger groups. Prime Minister Forbes Burnam has placed a major emphasis on this effort.
Guyana, culturally, ethnically, is a diverse society. The two major groups are African and Indian from India. In the early 60s, there were severe racial differences between Indians and Africans. However, since my government took office in 1964, these racial animosities have to a large extent subsided. I would not for one moment say that there is no racial difference or there are no racial differences, but the acuteness has worn off. The people are living better, they are working better together, and more they are moving to the position where they recognize that their primary loyalty is to Guyana and their ethnic origin is incidental.
Ethnic ties were made important under British colonial rule when the first seeds of racial variance between these two oppressed people were implanted. Africans were brought to Guyana against their own free will as slaves to work large sugar estates. East Indians came later after slavery was abolished as indentured labor and were allowed to keep their religion, language, and other cultural ties that had been denied to the Africans. This disparity in status naturally put the African population further behind the East Indians, progressively, and now Guyanese of African descent, like their brothers in the United States, labor under the task of reestablishing a sense of cultural pride and identity. OSCRIA is an organization dedicated to heightening the awareness of black Guyanese.
The basic intention was to republish the truth about Africa so that people will know that they came from a country, a continent that had a long lineage of civilization. This would destroy all the myths that have been perpetuated in Guyana about Africa and about black people as a result. And this has been the basic part of the activities carried out by OSCRIA in Guyana. It takes the form of schools in which we teach information about Africa and academic work, so that people can not only have pride in themselves, but then equip themselves with skills in order to take over and run services which are required in the country.
As Minister of Education, I'm charged by the Constitution with responsibility for education in Guyana. This includes the primary school system, the secondary school system, university, technical education for both boys and girls. If you look at it in very general terms, it is really no different from the educational system in any other country, since education must form the underpinning for whatever developmental projects the country as a whole is thinking of. Therefore, education in Guyana has to produce and provide the people who will man the various sectors of the economy, who will throw up the ideas and the planning, and more important to my mind, who will have the orientation that goes along with a country with the philosophy that we have.
Because of the high cost of education, the 44 government secondary schools in Guyana are not free. And though the government awards a number of free places every year, there are still students who can't attend because of finances. Here in the village of Buxton, however, the Republic Cooperative High School is owned and managed as a co-op by village residents and the students themselves. This allows for open admission, innovations in curricula, and for such changes as replacing the school bell with an African drum and beginning every school day with a prayer to our ancestors.
Work is our duty. Defense is our duty. Love is our duty. Discipline is our duty. Creation is our duty. O greatest ancestors, help the black freedom fighters of Africa and America.
The school teaches mainly business and culture.
One other major point is that we do some science, which is very important to the black people of the world. We do physics, chemistry, maths, and some others. Some years ago, they used to say that we were taught that when you be a lawyer or a doctor, that's good enough. And that's a very respectable job to be in. And they kept us out from business field, agricultural field, scientific field generally. But now that we have come to realize that science is very important, we have brought in science into play.
Well, formerly, all the students, all we were taught about is about white, and we are not white. We taught about white people, white heroes, and so on. And we came to respect and honor such people as our superiors, because this is a sort of culture we were being trained into. But now we are training people to understand that there are as many as great black men as there are white. And so we are changing the whole outlook, the entire outlook of the student. He is now being taught to respect himself.
English, let's get your books out. And listen to this passage. This is a part of one of the speeches made by the Prime Minister. Housing. Housing ourselves is another attainable goal. Traditionally, we have built in wood, but this material in recent times, as a result of the construction boom and the increased population, been in relative short supply. Meanwhile, we have been neglecting one of the finest building materials in the world, and which we have in abundance. Can anybody say what that is? Which material we have, which we have been neglecting? One of the finest building material in the country. Clay. Clay, not clay bricks, clay. The clay itself. Mud, clay. You don't have to buy that, and we have been neglecting it.
Formerly, we were a colony, and the educational system was geared to produce colonists. They needed masses of laborers to provide just brute force. They needed a few clerks, so we had a few secondary schools, very good grammar school type of secondary schools. And there, these potential clerks were taught to read, to write, to get some of the graces that a European gentleman would have. More important, to carry out orders, which was part of the colonial policy that not a nail, not a horseshoe should be manufactured, so there was no technical education. You didn't need it, just these clerks and the laborers. It also meant that part of the educational system was to give us certain ideas which would ensure we remained a colony. Like the good came from outside. You know, if you wanted to become a total personality, you become as nearly as possible like your British masters. Our standards of beauty, you had to have, you know, even features and things like this. In everything, our own culture was pushed in the background. Sometimes we were not even conscious of it, and we tried to ape as far as we could the European norms, because this seemed to be what a real man was about. And the educational system fostered this, in so many ways. The other important difference is that the total system then was one which emphasized the individualism. Now we're the cooperative republic, we're an independent country, we are proud of ourselves. But very frequently now we find that those of us who've been brought up in the old system of education have to be told, have to be encouraged to trust ourselves. We have to learn to work with each other, to cooperate with each other, rather than to work in opposition to each other, rather than to compete with each other. We have to get accustomed to thinking of ourselves as communities and groups and people with the same kind of interest. Now we have to build in a whole technical section in our educational system. So we have to transform entirely our curriculum, not only in secondary schools, but in primary schools. We have to teach the children that in an agricultural community, it is wrong to feel that there's something wrong with putting your hand in the mud, which is the attitude we inherited. We have to teach secondary school children that there is some pride in using your hand, that your brain and your hand must work together. And very, very important, in every primary school, we start a cooperative so that the students themselves have personal experience in running a cooperative, so that whatever skill they have, they can use after school to form themselves into cooperatives, to find some way of earning a livelihood without waiting for Maso to offer them a job. And of course, the general attitudinal change. I am black. It is good to be black in Guyana. I am part of the cooperative republic. I must work with my neighbor. I understand why I must work with my neighbor. I must change the whole system of economic life. I must open my hinterland. That kind of attitude we try to bring through the total system.
Here at Timeri, we try to train the children to live cooperatively. We let them learn to do things together. We let them learn in this school to live as a family. These children live in farmsteads up and across the river. Here again, the cooperative spirit is in evidence because families come together and send their children along in boats. The bigger ones take care of the smaller ones. You will have many families represented in one boatload of children. Here again, Timeri is an isolated area, so to speak, from the main city. And we try in this small area to make the school and perhaps the community a microcosm of what we would like to see in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Tom Feelings, an African-American artist, has left the United States to live in Guyana and make his contribution to the development of educational materials there.
I'm here to illustrate books, textbooks, primary books for the children of Guyana. Books that will say something about the history of Guyana that's important to the children, will say something about truth. It's very important that they learn the truth about their background. And it's the same kind of experience that black people had in the States. This is considered the New World, South America, the West Indies, America. Except that you ain't gonna find no kids here on drugs. They want to learn because it's very important to learn. They feel they can be whatever they want to be as long as they get the education. Yeah, this is the first time I've worked with a group. First time I've worked with a group. And I was able and am able to give of myself completely. In the States, I had to work as an individual. So that meant that everything that I did ended up being as an individual. But here, I'm able to take the skill that I've learned and to integrate it with the skills that black people have here. And together we do, any project we work on is a collective project. I think that one of the things that brothers in the States have to do is get out of the States, if they can, to see that black people all over this world have ingenuity, creativity, and brains. And for those who can afford to get out, who are making that money on IBM or any other kind of job, maybe they ought to come down here and find out that black people here have brains and ingenuity, and that we need each other. We need to collectively pull together our resources so that we can build and control our own lives.
The future of any country lies in its young people. Realizing that physical independence alone does not make you free, the government of Guyana is teaching its people the skills necessary for nation building. They have also moved to raise the level of cultural awareness of the population, a vital task for all non-white people. They're doing it through education, by reaching the minds of the people.
This is a sample of some letters from our viewers. A white teacher from Wilmington, North Carolina writes, quote, "My black children especially are starving for information relevant to their problems." She felt Black Journal solved their problems. A sister in Texas finds Black Journal, quote, "a much-needed moral and self-image builder." She intends to recommend the program to students, teachers, and parents alike. To do so, we suggest she follow others around the country in forming Friends of Black Journal support groups. Then, from a brother in Cleveland who has already organized Friends of Black Journal, we receive a request for more Black Journal bumper stickers and buttons. We're glad the group is growing and suggest that members use a telephone tree to get even more brothers and sisters to watch the program. The telephone tree is simple. Members of the group in Cleveland call their friends before Black Journal is aired and encourage them to watch. To a teacher in Washington, D.C. interested in audio visuals, we can make Black Journal films available to those schools and organizations interested in holding a Black Journal Film Festival. Mrs. Frederick Bonaparte from Philadelphia writes, "We have just enjoyed another true black experience through your magnificently produced Black Journal. We again give praises and thanks to you for the finest 1/2 hour of television viewing on the airwaves." If any of the previous ideas interest you, write Black Journal, 10 Columbus Circle, New York, 10019. And we'll answer your requests and send you our free Teach brochure, which explains our philosophy. From time to time, Black Journal will look at the creative works of young black filmmakers, including New York's Community Film Workshop Council and National Educational Television's Training School. Both groups are working for the overdue chance to express black ideas, culture, and feelings on film. The NET Television Training School, formerly the Black Journal Film Workshop, is directed by Sister Peggy Penn. It was the first of its kind to teach minorities, free of charge, all aspects of filmmaking. In a 36-week course, students learn still photography, script writing, sound recording, and cinematography. The following film, Encounter 2, is from NET's training school.
This is something. Here's a guy, wins a grand in the sweepstakes, but he's afraid to take the money home to his wife because he bought the ticket with money he held out from his paycheck.
Yeah!
Hey, go, man! Run, run, run! Boy, what a play! Did you see that? They do it just like the pros. Boy, that was dumb. See, these little radios are a lot more powerful than you think they are.
Tonight, we'd like to encourage more young blacks to enter the field of filmmaking and communications so that these skills can be used in our struggle. Tonight, we dedicate the Black National Anthem to the future black communicators.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high at the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Stormy the road we trod, majestic crown, felt in the days we know, unborn and died, yet with the steady heart and weary come to the place for which our fathers died.